Welcome to the Craig Mostyn Group 15-minute learning. IT training designed for the Craig Mostyn Group by Tiles. This course is Excel number 3. This is Excel number 3. Now the Excel courses should be done in order, particularly do Excel number 1 first because that lays some of the groundwork to all the other courses. Excel 3 contains how to do drop-down lists in the data validation section, how to create conditional formatting, naming ranges of cells, and how to make that range dynamic. So here we're going to look at two options for creating simple drop-down lists using the data validation option. So to find the data validation option, you go to the data menu and then you'll find data validation. And here we want to use a list. The first option I'm showing here is we've actually just typed in the list that we want to see separated by commas, and we've typed that into the source field. And when we've done that, the data entry point gives us a drop down option, and we click the drop down and we get the options that we've typed into the data validation list option, each separated by a comma. Very simple way to do a drop down list if you haven't got too many options and you don't want to have to record them elsewhere in your spreadsheet. Now the other way of doing it is we go back to the data validation option again, and you can see we've got a list that we used before. In this occurrence, what we're going to do is choose an area in the workbook. Now it doesn't have to be even in the same sheet, it could be hidden away somewhere, but we've just chosen this list here, J12 to J16, and it produces exactly the same results. Now we could have an extremely long list in there, or we could just say J12 to J100 in the source, and then every time we added words to that column there, they would automatically add to our drop-down list. So if I want to put data entry in this field, it gives me the drop-down options from the data that I've recorded in the spreadsheet. One of the reasons this is extremely useful, other than the fact that you don't have to type the words, etc., is that it ensures that you get the correct spelling for the words that you have in your list. And the reason that is so important is if you later on want to do any sorting or finding or anything like that, having the correct spelling means that you get what you want when you go and look for it in a sort or a find. So there we are, simple data validation, creating a drop-down list using the data validation option. And now we'll move on to conditional formatting. And we find conditional formatting on the home menu, and in the middle there, conditional formatting. There's lots and lots of things we can do with conditional formatting, so I'm just showing you a few here, and they are changing the color of the cell depending on the contents, providing a traffic light style system depending on the contents of the column provided, or doing above or below average colouring, or if a value equals a certain value in this column, paint the whole row a certain colour. So let's have a look at that then. We'll choose this one first, go to Conditional Formatting, and I've created a rule. So we can do that by saying New Rule and then choosing the options. So on this one, I'll say Manage Rules, so we can look at the rule that we've created for this column here. So here we have the first rule. Let's edit that so we can see what it's saying. Format a cell that contains specific text we've chosen, contains the word chicken. So if it contains the word chicken, we want the cell to be blue with white text. Okay, and that's given us the first rule. The second rule, edit the rule, format only cells that contain specific text, lamb. So if it has the word lamb in the cell, paint it green with white text, and so on. If it's pork, yellow with black text. If it's beef, purple with white text. And it applies to the cells that we've highlighted here, B5 to B16, B5 to B16. So these two at the bottom don't meet any of this criteria, so they're left white. And there you see a very nice way of highlighting your products without having to go through and colour them in yourself as you type them in. Another option here, Conditional Formatting, Manage the Rule. The first one, we've got an icon set, the traffic lighting, and we'll go and edit that one. So I've chosen format all cells based on their values. In the style, we've chosen the icon set, and the set we've chosen is standard traffic lights. There's lots of those that you can have, ticks and crosses and all sorts. We have standard traffic lights. And we're saying here, make it green when the value is greater than or equal to 67%. Orange when the value is less than 67 but greater than or equal to 33%, and red when it's less than 33. So it's looking at that column. Remember, that's what we've chosen, C5 to C16, and it's providing the traffic lighting based on that criteria. And the other two are just saying if it's below the average, paint it green, and if it's above average, paint it red. We'll have a quick look at that. So cells that are above or below average, and we're saying for below, give it green. For above, give it red. I'm sorry. There we are. And the final one is looking at this column here, and it's saying, let's edit the rule. Use a formula to determine which cells to format. So if format is, if the cell I'm in here, C20, is greater than 9, then we paint that red and give it a white background. And then we give that a applies to area, which you can see it applies to the entire set of data there, A20 to C43. And that will then colour in each line where the price is above 9. If the price is below 9, it leaves it white. So that's 3 types of conditional formatting you can do that it's absolutely endless, the amount of combinations you can do. But if you're doing any sort of management reporting, or you've got a big spreadsheet with loads of data and you just want to highlight specific things, this is an incredibly easy way to do that without spending a load of time choosing cells and highlighting them yourself. Conditional formatting. For this section, we're going to look at naming a range. Now, naming a range creates a lot of clarity and helps to understand how the spreadsheet and calculations are put together. So a couple of examples here. We find the range name manager under the formulas option. So we go across the top to formulas and find name manager. And in name manager, we can have a new one. So if I click on new, it just says give it a name. Do whatever you want. You can call it whatever you want in here, and then give it a range. So I could give that quantity column there a name of Fred. So what we've done on these ones is, if we look at the cost name, we've called it cost, and we've given it the range E5 to E16. That's cost E5 to E16. And on the quantity, we've given it the range D5 to D16. And now if we want to do some calculations, I can say here for cost, I want the sum of cost, and my formula is simply equals sum, open brackets, cost, close brackets. I don't have to remember to put in the details of where that column is, because that's held in the name cost. Similarly, for quantity, if I want the total amount of items, I want to add the column quantity, we can use our sum and the name quantity equals sum, open brackets, QTY, close brackets. And that gives us the values in those two fields. We can also do some other calculations. Over here I've said cost of production is $245 and I want to calculate the profit. So I've said equals the sum cost, comma, minus COP, because I've given that a name of COP. And that gives me the profit. So again, looking in the name manager, that's my COP, and it says the range is just that one cell, A21. So we are naming a range instead of saying between a certain cell to another cell. Naming a range. Now, working hand in hand with the naming a range, we have this option for creating a dynamic range. And it uses this formula equals offset, etc. Now what that does is it allows us to add data to the bottom of the range that we named previously. And as we do, it will dynamically increase the range that we've preset so that the new data is added into any of the formulas that we use to calculate with that range. So to show you how that works, again we go to the formula menu and name manager, And we've created two new ones, total cost and total quantity. So total cost is saying, I want a name of total cost, and it uses this formula. So I would suggest, if you're going to do this work yourself, that you can copy this formula and use it for yourself. So it says offset, open brackets, dynamic, exclamation mark, $E $5, 0, 0. And what that's doing is saying start at E5, which is here, and work your way down. But it's saying continue to the end. So providing you followed the rules that we set in the first Excel lesson, is that you've got no subtotals in there, you've got no spaces, etc., etc. This will automatically add any new data to your sum. And the same on this one, it's looking at D5 and counting down. So D5, and we'll count down. So we've made a couple of calculations over here. We've said total cost is the sum of total cost. Remember this offset version of the range. And total quantity is sum total quantity, the other name range we made with the offset dynamic. And now if we add more data, if I put in here, let's say, I'll just copy that, so make them about, and I'll paste it. You see that change? That's now 74270. If I add it again, it's now 79679. And if I take it away, clear them, we go back to where we were before. So it's given us that function of being able to add data into the column, and the dynamic range will automatically add that into the sum. Dynamic range. Thank you for completing the course. Now please take a couple of minutes to complete the questionnaire. This will allow us to see how you're getting on with the courses, and it will allow you to provide information to us on what you would like to see in courses in the future. Thank you again.